All right. Good morning here for folks on the West Coast, and good afternoon for those of you on the East Coast. This is Shobhit at POS Portal. This is our webinar where we're going to today talk about a build versus buy decision that every business out there makes at some point in time when they're looking at business management solutions, business management software. So today on this half-hour slot, we will talk about the decision, the questions that come up, and how you can address them, and what sort of questions actually you should be asking. We have with me Shobhit. I also have John Paul, who's also part of our team here, and the two of us, will do a tag team effort and then get you through this webinar today. So for those of you who are not aware of who POS Portal is and then what we do, we were founded in 2000. We are not an ISO or processor. We do work definitely in the payments industry. The lines of business that we operate in are equipment sales. We have equipment rental businesses, deployment services, and we also have software solutions. You can see over there P1 and P2. There are just two versions of our software. This is the business management solution that we've developed for ISOs and acquirers. We have over 150 full-time resources that work for POS Portal. And specific to our software side of the business, we have about 130 active customers, which range from big ISOs, acquirers, to even medium-sized ISOs. 85% of our customers' base is definitely ISO offices. Across P2, we're close to managing about 400,000 merchants, and then we have about 3,000 salespeople that log in daily to help them do business deals and then merchant processing deals in the payments industry. So again, going back to why we felt the webinar is important and why we should talk to our audience about it, the site tells you the million-dollar question is if you should build it or not to build it. And this is specifically for a software solution. When you go out there and you're deciding to get yourself tools so that you can do your business more efficiently and effectively, you come to a point where you want to figure out if you should be using somebody else's systems, a system that somebody else developed, or maybe invest your time and resources in developing your own system. And then that's what we're going to talk about today. That's the million-dollar question. So the key things to point out here is that, and then in the IT world, we have enterprise businesses who have big IT staff, and they probably have the guys who can go out there and invest both time and money to develop their own solutions. But the cost aspect of it is pretty critical, and then especially for our audience out there, you need to decide if you have the both the time and the capital to take away time from your day-to-day needs and then work with a software provider to develop a solution that will fulfill your business needs. If there is a solution out there that can get you off the ground right away, now you need to decide and look at the cost and figure out if the cost that you would incur in developing a solution is a better return on your investment, or if you start using services by a software vendor that has developed solutions for your industry, for your needs, and matches the way you do your business. And then some just critical stats out there, on an average, 70% of the IT budget today is spent on operations and maintenance. So you can see the correlation that probably systems, it's not just a one-time cost, you go on and investing more and more. So you need to counter that in. And then again, you need to figure out the size of your business, the size of investments you can do, and how much time can you dedicate if you want to develop a solution, and what are you going to get at the end of it. As I said it a little while earlier, if you can get something that will get you off the ground right away, is that a better solution or not? So we're going to talk about specifically the questions that you should be asking yourself and maybe your advisors when you are at that juncture of making a decision if you should be buying or building your business management solution. And as to help you understand those questions and then ask those questions, I'll hand this over to John Paul, who will talk about the questions more in detail from here on.
So thank you, Shobit, for that. So yeah, today we're going to discuss 6 questions in terms of the content behind today's webinar. So let's just get right into it. The first question that we typically have our customers asking, and really anybody, if you're going through this process today of whether you should sort of build or buy your technology solution, is sort of first off, is the solution that you want to build a core competency of your business? And for us on this end, we've typically found that the answer is no. I think for a lot of ISOs, resources really shouldn't be stretched to do something outside of the business's core competency or focus. For us here at POS Portal, we see a lot of ISO and agent offices. Your focus should really be on selling and supporting your merchants. So typically, before deciding if you're equipped to tackle your own solution, it may make sense to first look at what you're trying to build and the resources you have available. And really, again, for the context of today and this event, it's really around should you build or buy your CRM solution. So that could be, based on your company's background, and typically that answer is either going to be, or it will be, either a yes or a no. So number 2, do I have the subject matter and technical expertise to build the solution? I think one of the most critical considerations you guys can make out there is to determine whether you have enough subject knowledge internally to solve whatever problem you're looking to tackle. So what you really want to do is ask yourself, are you really the expert at this? Can your team identify what solution needs to be built? And it's typically not just the subject matter experts you need to worry about. It's also going to be your technical resources. So, do you have internal expertise to utilize latest technologies, different, capabilities to effectively build out and maintain the solution? And if not, you may need to leverage external expertise to make this happen. Along with that, you might want to be asking, do you really need to build this capability in-house? And will you have long-term value for it? Or does it actually make sense for you to adopt an existing solution that's been built and sort of set up by experts who are going to continue to invest in it and make it better? I think that the biggest piece there, too, is that typically the company that would be building that respective solution is going to be also monitoring it and making sure that it scales with you without you guys worrying about how to kind of, not only scale it, but keep it focused on your core business. So number 3, and we're kind of flying right through these, as you can tell, but number 3, do I have the team to support the solution as well as provide custom updates in the future? So not only must you understand what the solution is going to look like today, but you really also need to know what your future requirements might be. You don't want to only address your company's current needs and sort of box yourself into one approach. You really need to find solutions to support your business as it grows and evolves. And within our industry, we see this quite often. There's a lot of turnover. We understand that your business models are changing all the time. I think this change is inevitable. And we see ISOs moving from, just as an example, a 1099 to a W-2 sales agent channel, maybe outside to inside sales. You're maybe establishing different processor ISO relationships. Maybe you're moving from no risk to taking on or assuming risk. Maybe you're connecting with different industry service providers and partners, and there's probably a lot of other things I didn't mention, but we do realize that change is inevitable. So what you really want to think about is whether or not you have the people available to not only support the solution, but also provide those custom updates down the road as they do emerge and come up. So this is a big one, number 4, the total cost of ownership. So really, as a business, as an ISO, as an agent office, even as a processor, you really need to carefully evaluate the total cost of ownership for the solution. So, building your own solution means really, if you think about it, making ongoing internal trade-offs or an opportunity cost, if you want to use an economic term. It all boils down to whether or not you're committed to making the sustained investment required in the do-it-yourself method, or the alternative to that is making the upfront investment required to buy the actual solution. And I think along with that, just to give some specific examples here, what many companies might not think about is network and server hardware and software, installation and integration costs, migration expenses, technology training, IT personnel resources, ongoing support and maintenance, downtime and outage expenses, security, and that could include breaches, possible loss of reputation, the recovery and prevention resources, the actual backup and recovery process of all your data, along with that risk, so possible data loss, the availability of upgrades or the lack of upgrades, along with other hard and soft costs. So there's quite a lot there. So really your decision to build and whatever cost is involved by yourself or some other company to go and build that solution from scratch, it's commonly just the tip of the iceberg as the image shows here. And finally, on this last kind of, I guess, question here, part of this also relates to scalability. I think what's interesting is when you work with a solution provider that has multiple customers, so if they have multiple customers out there that they've previously gone through the process with, that provider is going to learn from each of them based on each customer's unique needs and requirements. So if you end up buying instead of building your solution, you at least have that insurance policy that your needs will sort of be constantly invested in and updated going forward, which is always nice to have. So number 5, time to market. Is the time to market faster if I use an existing cloud-based solution? And it really doesn't have to be cloud-based. It could really be any solution. But are you able to sort of keep up with the competition as this image shows here? So though you may have determined from the questions above that you'd prefer to build your own solution, you don't want to forget the time to market, which is going to include the time to design, architect the solution, build it, test it. And all of these steps take time away from your current operation, and really, if not done correctly, are going to result in a poor output or some poor, let's just call it, end solution that your team ends up using. So really, again, what you want to ask yourself is, do you have the time to build a custom solution, or do you need rapid deployment? And if it's the latter, you want to investigate whether there's a comparable cloud-based solution out there that already exists in the marketplace. So is there anything out there that we could leverage and bring in a lot more quickly, still get us to value, but we can then configure it from there based on our business model. And finally, the last question we wanted to share with everyone today on this somewhat brief webinar is, can you offer security and the ability to control data? So I think for this industry, security is really going to be a key component to the dialogue today, and really for any technology solution. But again, especially ISO and agent offices with sensitive merchant information. I think people overall need to ensure that their sensitive data can be stored securely. And if you think about it, really a decade ago, many people would have advised, and been wary of cloud solutions, emphasizing the importance of maintaining control over that information. But, for us as a technology provider, I think just looking at the industry, we've really come a long way in the last decade. And as SaaS solutions, software as a service solutions, have evolved, security has also increased. And in many cases, those end solutions actually end up to some degree being more secure than what your internal or what an internal team can actually create. I think many global and US-based companies are leaning on the cloud to not only store sensitive information, but put strict controls in place around who sees what, why, and when. And just as an example, within Salesforce.com, which is a global CRM provider solution out there, just one example is that you're able to actually limit access by IP address. So by the actual IP address of the member of your team. So, as an example, if you only want folks on your end to be able to access your technology from within your office walls, then you'd be able to ensure that the employee has a static IP address, and you would actually link that up with that user's profile in the system. So what that leads to is that if they ever try to access the solution or the system from, let's say, their mobile device, or maybe their house if they were working remotely, or let's say you didn't want them to have access, then ultimately they wouldn't be able to. So a lot of control there, a lot of customers have. Many other customers have found ways to lean on the cloud, but also ensure that their data and information is being backed up locally to their own infrastructure as sort of a fail-safe. So, that's going to provide some additional peace of mind. But again, you're using a cloud-based solution, but you're still backing up that data maybe once a week or daily or whatever makes sense for your business model, to your own infrastructure, your own servers. And really, what we're seeing on this end at POS Portal is that, this trend, I think overall is revealing this shift in mindset that proves that there's really greater comfort, control, and really security in SaaS or cloud-based solutions today. So really the takeaway, we went through, again, 6 questions rather quickly here. This event was recorded, so we'll make sure we send it out to all the folks on the line. While I'm kind of wrapping up with the takeaway here, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. But, really the takeaway for everyone on the line is, while some of these things may sound very simple, as you can tell, these projects typically require planning and resources. And for everyone, the devil's going to be in the details, right? So you have to make sure that you're committed, that you have the capability set, and that you have the right team in order to execute on your plan. Your technical resources need to be strong enough to architect and code the solution, and you need to have the ability to scale it based on your business needs in a timely manner or fashion. So I think that the biggest message is that if you keep all this in mind at the front end, then it shouldn't take a gigantic effort to accomplish your goals or require an expensive rebuild or build to get it right. And with that being said, again, we got through this rather quickly. I know this is a 30-minute event, but
so we just wanted to make sure everybody gets their time's worth, and that's the reason we wanted to just quickly discuss and bring up these key points that our customers and we face as well today. We ourselves are a software company, but we use tools for marketing. We use a tool called Marketo, and then if we wanted, we could have gone ahead and developed that tool ourselves, but we asked the same questions that we just discussed to ourselves, and then the outcome was that it was better, the better ROI for us was to use an outside solution that would satisfy our needs and then give us the most efficient solution. So, and then as John Paul pointed out, that when you're working with a partner that has done this for businesses that operate in the same industry as you do and then face the same challenges each and every day, the solution provider learns from each customer, and then you end up gaining from that, because now the solution provider is going to make sure when they start working with you that the issues and the problems they face are addressed from the get-go.